You're listening to The Donor Doctor Show, where your host, James Newberry, will help you improve the health of your fundraising. Now over to James.
Hello, this is The Donor Doctor, and I'm here with my friend. Introduce yourself.
Stuart MacLean, a longtime friend of Mr. James Newberry. It's good to see you, Jim.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I understand that you're starting your own business, correct?
That's true. I've had MacLean Direct Marketing going for about 11 weeks now.
Right.
And I have 3 clients. I still do some consulting for some agencies in the D.C. area, 3 of them. But and I enjoy that work, and I enjoy meeting their clients. And I kind of like it, too, because I'm always open to learning new things.
That's an important thing. Yeah, I agree with you. So if somebody wanted to contact you, how would they do that?
Well, they could get in touch with me at scotsmanstuartmaclean@gmail.com.
Okay, and if you want to get a hold of the Donor Doctor, I did get somebody inquiring.
Really?
About believe it or not, yes. I'm the Donor Doctor Show at gmail.com, or you can call me 240-477-3999. I met a nice young man the other day, David Overy, so I'm going to give a shout out to him. He is a fan of the thing. He's listened to about a dozen of them. So
really?
Yeah. So he's like binge listening.
Wow.
Binge listening.
You're a rock star, Jim.
Oh, yeah. Today's episode is about the 7 sins of fundraising, and of course there's more sins. And when I say sins, there's a lot of things in fundraising that are guidelines. They're neither they usually work. And then there's some things that are actually sins. They're bad for you. They can destroy your organization. And I came up with 7. These were ones I did on my own, so I didn't, if I went through some book, I probably would have gotten, I didn't want to be influenced. These are the ones I came through the top of my head.
From your own experience.
Exactly. The first one is don't be boring. Of course, we know David Ogilvy said that. And looking at you, of course, your mail is the opposite of that. I mean, you have the tubes for flag tubes for trick or treat. You did the trick or treat bag.
Oh yeah,
all sorts of things.
Halloween bag, yeah. Christmas stocking.
And of course, that's the opposite of boring. It's exciting, fun. Richard Armstrong, who I had on a guest recently, he had the famous sea turtle mailing, which the sea turtle was going throughout the letter.
I remember that.
Zigzagging throughout the letter. That's a fun mailing. But of course, any kind of fundraising, there's people who want to stick to the tried and true. They don't want to, and even things that worked at one time become stale.
Well, I'm a big believer, if you're talking to a client especially, some of them have the mistaken idea, and frankly, some direct mail fundraisers have the mistaken idea that cheapest in the mail is the best. And my response to that is, what if we could have a better cost per dollar raised by spending a little bit more money on things that really matter, that increase response, that increase average gift? And I have proven on numerous occasions that spending more on the right things can actually lower your cost to raise a dollar.
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah, it's not just direct mail, though. I mean, think of the ALS Bucket Challenge. I suspect there was somebody on that board who said, I don't know, I'm not sure if this fits our image. I suspect that there was somebody who would have cost them, over $100 million. So there's always somebody who they're just
the nattering nabobs of negativism.
Exactly. So that's the first one. The second one, and this is a problem to varying degrees with groups, is not cultivating or upgrading donors. Have you seen that?
Seen it. I think some agencies and some organizations, nonprofits especially, don't even think about it. And, once you're on the house list, they think all you're good for is to get another appeal asking for more money. And I think you would be shocked at some of the big names that I've come across from my own experience. I'm not going to embarrass them here on this podcast, but they didn't have a clue as to what to do with these people, and they didn't have a clue as to why even have a membership. So we're such and such a museum, so we should have memberships because everybody else has memberships. Well, why do you have memberships? I mean, isn't that to help you cultivate these people to be closer and closer to you so that they become visitors to a book signing or whatever and just come for fun?
Right.
Next thing, you're developing a relationship with them on the phone. They're coming to your auction or your special event. Next thing, even if they're relatively cash poor, maybe they'll leave you in their will and you get 20% of the value of their house.
Right.
And they're feeling good about it because
Right.
they feel important to your mission.
Well, I remember one of my earlier episodes, I interviewed Vernon Robinson, and he took a look at a group that was a former client. And they had the president of Deutsche Bank and McDonald's and all these big names, and they had never contacted him. They were content with the money from direct mail. It was a lot of money being left on the table. It's unfortunate.
Well, I will tell you, and I won't tell you who the group is, but we made it easy for them to contact their high net worth people because as a donation came in, they automatically went through a data bank that we'd contracted for at our expense. And then within a day of the caging, they would get an email identifying the person, their phone number, their address, and that they're a high net worth donor. Mm-hmm. And we kept asking them, are you calling these people? Are you cultivating these people? And because we knew their board was pressuring them to do it in the development department. And they weren't annoyed with us, but they said, no, we're not doing it. And my boss said, well, why? We were there visiting the client. And the response we got from our main contact there was, quote, we have too many high dollar donors.
I love it.
That's their problem. They have too many.
So you can start with your $500 plus or your $1,000.
Well,
it's crazy. It's a crazy thing.
As my boss said, why don't they just start then with the ones that are within 2 hours of their museum?
Right.
Just call them.
Yeah.
The truth is they just didn't want to do it.
They were lazy. It's lazy,
Right.
yeah. Now, you said, we can give a positive plug, you were involved with the Nature Conservancy, that you were impressed by what they did, though.
I really was, especially when I went in there, I'd called them up cold back early in my career, and I was actually able to get in to see them, and they liked my proposal, and we were sitting down. There were 3 people from their side sitting in the office, and this was in the 80s when I was out of college. I did not think that too many people had this capability. But I said, just in passing, I've given to your organization. I'm a member of the Nature Conservancy. And my contact said, really? Swiveled in his chair to his sidearm by his desk, and there was his computer. He says, let's see how good a donor you are. Uh-huh. And he was able not only to track all my contributions, but I was in my 20s. I'd live somewhere for 8 months or a year and have new roommates and things move around, new jobs. Getting established outside of college, and they knew everywhere I'd lived and how much I'd given and when I'd given, and I was so impressed. And they said, you've given 3 times in the last 2 years. You'd be a good candidate for our Sustainer program. And they were the first nonprofit that I'd come across that had a Sustainer program.
Is that like a
working.
monthly donation?
Monthly giving. They, as I recall, they were either asking for 5 or 10 a month. It may have been as low as 5 back then, but if you think about it, at the time it was $10 to be a member and get their magazine, and they were getting...
This is a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, back in like 85.
I talked to somebody, and I said, you really need a monthly giving program. I did an earlier podcast about this subject with an expert who is Dutch, and it's everybody, all the charities in Europe do this. And this person said, we're thinking about doing that later this year. So they're like, it's 30 years after this other group has started.
Yeah.
A group is thinking about doing this. Thinking about it.
Yeah. It's kind of like my museum client that's thinking of calling their too many high dollar donors, but they're thinking about it.
They're thinking about it. Yeah, we're moving on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the third one is kind of related to that, complacency and inflexibility. And I find that they kind of go hand in hand. It's kind of the scent of success. Once you've done well, you have an account. As a copywriter, it's easy to kind of, maybe not have as much passion, or sometimes you need a fresh eyes.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least, a guest copywriter, but it could be for anything. You've achieved a certain level of success, and you take your eye off the ball a little bit. You seen that?
Unfortunately, I've seen it, and it's more common than not. To keep things fresh, I like to go through my mail at home, whether it's commercial stuff or fundraising stuff. I still do it after being in this business for decades. Right now, I've got a little pile going just of carriers. I threw away what's in there, but what was really cool about certain carriers.
Oh, I like that. I like that idea.
And as somebody once told me early on, the carrier in direct mail fundraising is a lot like the storefront window along the sidewalk. Right. You're not even thinking about going in and buying a suit, but all of a sudden you're walking by and a great suit catches your eye. And it's on sale. And no cost for alterations, but it ends on Tuesday, it gets you into the store.
Right.
And we have to get people into the envelope. And I foolishly, when I was a cub copywriter, thought, well, if I do a really good letter, people will give to it. Well, a lot of people don't even get to the letter.
That's right. That's why you have it. One of the things you hear, when you're in an organization, you try to get change. They'll say something like, "That's the way we've always done it." I'm sure you've heard that, and I'm reminded of George Washington when he was dying. They're bloodletting. That's what doctors did back then. These people would still be bloodletting. That's the way. That's the way we've always done it.
Leeching, yeah.
Okay. The number 4 is not having a holistic or comprehensive approach. Not like people don't know what the other side's doing. Maybe they have some high dollar people, they haven't even read the direct mail. Or they say the direct mail makes a promise and it's not even done, or there's no integration between, say, the email, direct mail, and events. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen that?
Seen it. Oh, my goodness. There's another client, a prestigious organization that, again, will remain nameless to protect the guilty, but their retail department didn't talk to their development department. Their development department didn't talk to their fundraising department because they just did membership.
They're rivals,
Special events.
Sometimes even hostile.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lack of coordination, just cooperation.
Yeah.
And the problem with that comes from the top. The top person should make them work together.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's poor leadership.
It is.
But you would think you would be on the same team, you'd be working. I am surprised by the level of incompetence I've seen.
They see their team differently.
Ah, I see.
Their team is the retail section.
Right.
Their team is the membership section.
Right.
Their team is the direct mail fundraising section.
Gotcha. Or events or whatever.
Yes, or events.
Yeah. Interesting. The 5th one is not providing value. And I'm reminded of, these magalogs. I'm sure you've read them.
Oh, yeah,
and
commercial.
They're often the magalogs are better than the magazines or newsletters you get, There's great value there. I had lunch with a guy he's the development director for a major group. They raise around, $20-30 million a year. Mm-hmm. And I was impressed by all the things they did. But one of the things, in their emails, most emails I get asked for money, I rarely see one that doesn't. And sometimes they just repeat the same one. They're just being annoying. They give you the same one. He says 15 to 1 videos and non-ask for money for every one they ask. But they're so big into monthly donors. And it does affect the house response, because so many people are in the monthly donor. But they have 500,000 hits on their Facebook page. They're giving great value all the time, is what I'm saying. People that are interested in their issue, They're great database. They know what issue they're interested in. Because people sign up. Kind of like, are you familiar with Quora?
No.
No, it's like University of Texas. You express interest in certain subjects, and they'll send you questions or comments or articles on those subjects. So that's what he does. But even if you go on their website and you look at different things, and they'll start putting that in there. And then when you go on there, if you're excited, you'll put the website and it'll come up, your name. Isn't that something? Mm-hmm. So they do a lot of things, and that's why I'm impressed. Now, part of this is a have-nots. I mean, if you're not over 10 million, if you're raising $50,000, it's hard to have all this kind of stuff, or 500,000 even. But still, you could do more. You can give value. I mean, the approach here is kind of like, it's very short-sighted. It's not relationship-oriented. Like, these people are going to be with us for a long time. It's like, let's mine everything we can from this person. It's a strip mining approach to fundraising is what I see mostly. What do you think?
I am sympathetic to groups early on in their history. They don't have a lot of money. But the problem that they get into is when they start to get some money, they're like a greedy kid at Christmas with his Christmas stocking full of candy.
Right.
I got to have it all now. I'm going to eat as much of it as I can in the next few days, and then it's gone. What they should be doing is starting to set aside a little bit of money so that they can start dealing with those questions.
Right.
Rather than just automatically, my budget's going to go up because now I can do blah, 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 blah. And they want immediate gratification. There's no vision. I'm not sure how you get past that with some people because you're dealing with people.
Right.
And some people will resent the idea. And we didn't push too hard on that museum group concerning their high-dollar donors who said, we've got too many. It was just clear that it wasn't going to go anywhere, even though, we even had it set up with Google Maps. If they were going to be in Chicago for a couple of days,
right,
they could have said, okay, who's everybody within 10 miles of my hotel? I'm just going to ask them to dinner. I'll call a couple people him for dinner in the evening, and I won't even ask them for any money, but just start cultivating those people.
Right, that's true. Yeah, it's a big mistake people make. The sixth one I have is mistreating donors. Of course, there's a lot of ways you can mistreat people. One is not fulfilling quickly. I mean, you say 6 to 8 weeks. You really have to beat that because we live in an Amazon culture. People are expecting things in a couple weeks. But there's so many ways people are mistreated, not giving value, like we mentioned earlier. I talked to a lady one time, and she was upset that she was getting too much mail, which is a common. You don't complain if I'm sure you heard of. But she was upset that some of the animal mailings, I think she'd given to like environmental and animal causes, were upsetting to her. She was a sensitive person; she couldn't help, and it upset her. And I helped take her off the things, but I just asked her for what the experience was, and it was a bad experience. Now, there's always some people who are going to have a bad experience, but you have to be sensitive to, what the practices you're doing. Are they creating a good experience for the donor or a bad experience? The guy I met with yesterday, it was a great experience that we described. I mean, I'm thinking about giving to the group myself. I mean, it's the way that they did it and the experience, and you're getting great information, great value. Easy. When somebody doesn't want to get mailed but once a year, do you comply with that? I mean, you have to have it. It takes some organization, of course, but to respect their wishes and stuff. If they don't want to get you to exchange your list with somebody else, that kind of stuff, you have to comply. And people, I think, generally do try to, but some groups are more efficient than others. One agency I know is great at fulfillment, for instance. Another one, their fulfillment is not so good, but they offer programs like monthly giving that are quite good. So people have different strengths and weaknesses on that.
But a lot of that stuff you can contract out.
Absolutely, but you have to keep them. You have to monitor them, of course.
Absolutely, but monitoring them should take less time than doing it yourself.
That's true. My last one is not having vision. I'm reminded of clients that you say that they were unhappy. I had a client. We were netting, prospecting, and driving a lot of people to their historic site, but they didn't see the value in it. I mean, they just didn't have an imagination, a real ambition. A lot of people, they think small. They're not really into being, the best or really. There's a bureaucratic approach. It's surprising to me the degree you see this. It's not everyone. Obviously, there's many exceptions, but it's more common than you think that people lack ambition. Really, they just are happy with what they have and aren't ambitious.
I have run into that, and it seems like there's two extremes. There's at the one side, the organization is big, and they have different parts that don't talk to each other. Mm-hmm. The other side, you have close to startups or startups where they're literally running things at the kitchen table, and growing is very difficult for them.
Right.
I remember talking to one client of mine. I took her from a $50,000 a year organization just on the web to $2 million net through the mail, and it was still climbing. And I used to say to her, you can't run this the way you've always run it. And I said, you're going to need a warehouse now. You can't just pile things up in your dining room. I said, and you can't just go to Walmart and fill up your pickup truck with DVDs and things to send to the troops. And she listened to all that, and she said, oh, but I love doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but then you're going to need somebody else to do the things that you don't want to do because your group's growing.
Right.
And you now went from a budget that's $50,000 to 40 times larger. Mm-hmm. And, you're going to need some more professional way to handle things.
Right.
And just filling up your pickup truck at Walmart, no, you need to you're big enough to start ordering things yourself from suppliers.
Yeah, get them
and having a tractor trailer or something a little smaller than that, like a UPS truck, pull up at your loading dock. And even if it's a hand truck loading machine instead of the forklift, you need a air-conditioned, climate-controlled warehouse for these things so that your people who are volunteering for you can come in and start stuffing packages.
Absolutely.
They can't do it in your dining room anymore.
Now, I understand you have some of your own, correct? That in addition to the 7 I came up with.
Well, I was thinking in terms since I started my own agency 10 weeks ago. I was thinking
it was
more,
11 weeks ago, just earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, 10 or 11, whatever. I was thinking about some of the good, the bad, and the ugly that I've experienced over the years. Not only working as a freelancer earlier on and getting into different nonprofits and seeing internally what goes on, but agencies.
Oh, yeah.
And, we've always got to be able to work with people.
Sure.
And be persuasive. And also, I don't mind if my idea gets knocked down. My problem is, what do you do with somebody in your agency who just says, I don't want to do it? And you say, well, why? I don't want to do it. That's the answer. I don't want to do it. Okay, is there a way I can modify my proposal? I don't want to do it. Or go talk to so-and-so. I used to get that from an employer who'd say, go talk to so-and-so. And I knew that meant let the idea die. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Sometimes there's nothing you can do about that. I would have preferred, I've done business this way for years and I feel comfortable with it. And at this point in my career, my agency, I just don't want to change.
There's a lot.
Okay.
I would say that there's a resistance to change, which I understand because I have it myself, but I consider it, at least I know it's a flaw. Resistance to, I'm aware of that. And other people, they seem to not even be aware that that's a flaw that they need to try to overcome.
Well, and what really bothered me in this particular instance is this person's always saying, oh, I've got an open door policy. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't expect to get everything I want or anything that I want. But if I have an idea and I come to you and you say you have an open door policy, then at least engage my argument. Don't just look at me and say, oh, go talk to so-and-so.
Well, I would say in a lot of organizations, what they say and do are different, and I think you have to pay attention to what's done. What's said is not to be taken seriously. I think a lot of people, I think your problem maybe is you take things literally, you take them seriously.
I took people at face value.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a mistake.
You're right. And to any young person getting out of college out there right now, I would say, you know what? Be really cautious if you're working for somebody about offering feedback. Because most of the time, I have found that when an employer especially asks for feedback, they don't really want feedback. What they don't want an honest critique, even if it's respectful or whatever. They want you to be a sycophant.
Well, I don't think that's true of all, but I certainly think there's an element of truth.
I've run into it a lot.
I think it's an element. Well, you said something interesting about Business Week. There was a choice of 3. Did you know that story? I mean,
yes.
I like that story.
Oh, man. As a young man, I was getting a business magazine to help you learn how to progress in business and get things done and serve your boss or start your own business, serve your clients. And they had a 40-question multiple choice test.
Right.
And I thought, oh, this is fun. I turned to that, and it's like, what are the best behaviors to exhibit when you're working for somebody else? And they had 3, A, B, and C. And so we went through one after the other. And there was a question near the end, and it said, best way to get ahead in your company is A, come up with a new idea that makes a lot of money for the company. I thought, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. B was bring in a new account or something like that.
I think it was to save money, find a way to save money.
Find a way to save money, that's right. And C was do things the way your boss wants them done. And I thought, gee, there should be a D, which is like A and B, the first 2, save money and bring in more money. The correct answer was C, do things the way your boss wants them done. And I was shocked. I mean, I was stunned. Here, decades later, I'm still talking about it because you knew about the story because I had told you.
Well, there seems to be a fear of people maybe more talented. Like if you do that, maybe they're jealous of you. Is that it? That you bring in the big account or you raise a lot?
It's threatening to people.
Threatening, yeah. So they want you kind of like docile. You want a good. They want you effective, but not too effective, kind of.
That's correct.
Yeah,
because they want to feel in control.
Right.
And if you have some ideas that are independent of theirs, they can't handle it. They just want you to tell them that they're great.
Do you think that's certainly not the majority? But you
think,
please. Think it's the majority?
Please.
It's a certainly significant portion, if not the majority.
It is I would say to the young person listening to this out there, if you are in the rare 2, 3, 4, 5% of companies out there where you can respectfully offer ideas to your supervisor or employer, and even if they don't take them, it doesn't cost you to be doing that in their eyes, that they don't see it as a challenge to their authority or that they're jealous of you for coming up with that idea, then you're probably working in a pretty good place. And think twice before you jump ship and go somewhere else for more money. You may need to do that, but think twice about it, because one of the benefits of being in the right place like that with good people is you don't want to get up in the morning on Monday and say, oh my God, I got to go back to work for so-and-so.
Right. Well, I think it takes a certain amount of security. I think some people the insecure person is nervous of the person outshining them. Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. I ran across somebody and they said they're looking for people who are better than they are at certain things. Let me tell you something. You own the company. You're the man anyway, or you're the woman. It's your company.
Right.
What you say goes. But why do you have to be afraid? I mean, are you getting an ego charge because you see everybody is not as good as you? I would want to surround myself, and I hope if I stay in business for a while before I retire, that I would surround myself with people who are really good.
Yeah, you'd want to. You want to. And I think all groups say they do, but I do notice what you're saying. I too would have said probably A. I would have answered A. I would not have gotten C. Because C seems like, how much value does C do? I mean, it's good. I understand C, being compliant and being good at your job. But somebody who could really jumpstart your business, bring in the huge client or the invention, if you're that kind of business, or
new innovations.
What about the person that came up with the bucket challenge? Isn't that guy? I mean, you're saying that's not the most valuable thing. I mean, that was somebody came up with that idea. That guy's, and that kind of goes. I think top talent may be underpaid and bad talent's overpaid. Because bad talent will cost you money. They hurt your organization.
I know of a guy who was really not very good at his job, and he wouldn't even read the boss's manual on how to do the job. He was that lazy. Mm-hmm. But he made sure every night, 5 days a week, when he was leaving the office, he would stop by his immediate supervisor and make sure he sucked up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I am not a big sucker. That's not my strength. It's definitely not your strength either. I'm a little bit better than you, but I would think that that's probably not a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? That he should have done a better job. But if you would have combined that, it did buy him a long time.
I've thought long and hard about that, and I said, that's kind of like being false and like lying. But what can I develop a skill where I'm sincere when I'm talking to them and yucking it up a little bit? And I've learned how to do that now because people, especially those who supervise you or your clients or your employer, they want to know that you're on their team.
Right.
And I understand that. I want to be on your team, and I will show you through some interaction that I'm glad to be on your team.
Right.
But I don't have to do it with false praise, flattery, being a sycophant. And that's what I learned, and that's what I object to.
Well, I get you. I agree with you there. Well, Stuart, it's good to have you on a guest. I wish you well on your new business enterprise. I'm sure you will do well. You've always impressed me with your copywriting. I just read one of your packages now. And I think it'll do well. So anyway, till next time, this is the Donor Doctor signing out. Thank you.